biggest stage, I didn't shy away from that confrontation. I look forward to that confrontation.
Yeah, you look forward to it.
I just accept challenges. I wanted to go out there. I wanted to guard Mike. I was going to guard him. I was going to guard him 48 minutes if I had to. You know, the hype of going up against Mike was, okay, let's go. Show me. Like, I've been watching you play my whole life.
Yeah.
Show me. Like, I want to see this. Everybody calling you Black Jesus and all this other crap. Like, you have to show me, man.
Was he willing to give you any advice or give you any secrets?
Yeah, he did. He did. And I can't tell you the answer. You know, Mike wouldn't share information with nobody. You know, but he did with me. Why? Because he knows I'm about that life.
That was Kobe Bryant, everybody, if you didn't already recognize his voice. I wish I had that mindset when I was 19, to go into the day with no fear and take on whatever challenges lie before you. It's March Madness, has me in a hooping mood. I'm a big Kobe fan. I try to emulate that Mamba mentality at work myself. I have a job I can earn commission. I can push myself to do better, to be better, to do more. I used to feel insecure because I don't have a degree and I'm surrounded by really intelligent people. But I realized the only thing holding me back from being on their level was fear. Once I let go of that fear, I started seeing them as equals, even if they don't see me as one. So be like Kobe today. Mamba mentality. No fear. What's up, everyone? Happy Friday. I am ready for a day off. Even though I practically work all weekend, I get to work on my own pace, and I can totally tell it's Friday. This is like my 10th attempt to do this show today. I am stumbling and mumbling and fumbling just like Joe Biden. So hopefully we can get through this. Let's go. We have more supply chain issues. We have congressmen in trouble, Hunter and other troublemakers getting let go, housing and more. If you've been following, all the details with Russia, maybe you've came across Brittany Griner. If you don't know who she is, ex-college basketball star, ex-WNBA player, and she's being detained in Russia right now, and Russia has extended her detention to May 19th. I may not agree with her politically, but she's American, and I think this is messed up, and I want her back. I know we're practically at war, but what does she have to do with this? Let her come back. It's March Madness. Who you got? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget about those women's brackets. I believe you can still fill them out today, so go fill out your women's bracket. And we're going head first into the Rooney bin when I bring up Twitter. Yesterday, on Twitter, Andy No tweeted, breaking, Antifa member Darby Howard gets no prison time after pleading guilty to trying to smash his way into the Portland federal courthouse last year. Dude literally pled guilty. He was arrested at a riot earlier in the day before being quickly released and returning to that same riot. Damn, man. If you haven't already read or listened to Unmasked, I strongly recommend it. Learn about Antifa from the inside, from an undercover journalist perspective. It's really hard to wrap your head around the fact that Antifa is not being treated as a terrorist group, yet our government is willing to call parents protesting school boards terrorists. VP Harris, Vice President Harris, has literally bailed these folks out. We have district attorneys all over the country letting people go and breaking the law. I grew up in Waukesha, Wisconsin. The guy who drove the car through the parade killing several people should have been locked up already. If you're not familiar with that story, this is an article by ABC News, and they talk about how Brooks drove his SUV into a parade in Waukesha on November 21st. Witnesses said he was swerving and appeared to be intentionally trying to hit these people. He was arrested minutes after as he stood on the porch of a nearby house asking a homeowner to help him for a ride. Police said he had fled the scene from a domestic disturbance when he turned into the parade. Although officers were not pursuing him at that time, he's been charged with 6 counts of first-degree intentional homicide. At the time of this crash, Brooks was out on a $1,000 bail in Milwaukee County, in which he was accused of intentionally striking a woman with his car. He was charged in that case on November 5th. He's also a defendant in another Milwaukee County case from 2020 in which he was charged with shooting at his nephew and another person. So dude already tried taking somebody out with a car, and dude literally just shot at 2 people and got out on $1,000. A lot of people call this equity. I think it's far from it. I don't understand why people protect groups like Antifa. They claim to be anti-fascist, but are literally fascists. Literally. And when was the last time you Googled fascism? Google will literally give you a bullshit definition saying it's a right-wing thing. So here's Webster's definition if you're not familiar. It's a political philosophy. It's a movement, a regime that exalts nation and often race above the individual, that stands for its centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of opposition. Does that sound familiar, people? Does that not sound like exactly what the Democratic Party's trying to do right now? Everything's about race with Democrats. Democrats want a centralized autocratic government, meaning they only want someone with their same ideology leading the government and our country. If you disagree, you're the enemy. Who are the ones being censored and deplatformed all the time? Everyone but the progressive Democrats. They're literally suppressing people's voices. I don't like Republicans much either, but for the most part, they don't do shit. Yeah, we got Ron DeSantis and Rand Paul out there trying to get some things done with a few others. They're all severely misrepresented in the media as well. Most people will never know. The further a society drifts from the truth, the more it will hate those who speak it. That's a George Orwell quote for you. I'm doing a review on a new open source social media platform soon, so make sure you subscribe to the Jay Rooney Show on Rumble so you don't miss it. Even though I think the majority of people who continue to support the Democratic Party right now don't really know better, and that's because polls have shown that Dems do pay less attention and they don't take bipartisan news. They typically spend all of their time in their echo chambers with their tribe. So I have no doubt there's been a Democrat who's tuned into the Jay Rooney Show to see what this is all about and have been like, oh, hell no. When I try a new podcast and I disagree myself, I will make myself listen to it for at least a week or so and, try to be objective and take in what they're saying. Most recently, I did try the Young Turks, and man, that was bad, like real bad. I stuck it out for a while, actually. I was really impressed with Anna's debate with, of course, I'm drawing his blank right now, the Daily Wire guy, Ben Shapiro, sorry. Anna Kasparian and Ben Shapiro did a debate recently, and I thought Anna did an awesome job. So I wanted to check out the Young Turks. Shit, man. It was bad. I could probably give you 15 reasons why I'm doing this show. One of them is because every time I try to engage with somebody in a conversation, and even the ones who don't get all upset and emotional, they can't really elaborate on their beliefs and opinions, or they just get stuck right away, almost like a deer in headlights. I think this is because they adopt what the media and the culture is telling them, whether wrong or right, and then they justify it by not looking into the matters because of their busy schedule. I don't have time. I'm so busy watching The Bachelor, taking care of my kids, and paying attention to Fox and CNN in the background, even though every single show on Fox and CNN are the exact same thing. If you watch one of those programs, you know what every program is for the rest of the day. It's crazy. It's terrible. I can't believe people still watch that shit. I got tired of conversations with people having no substance. If you're thinking to yourself right now, well, I know what to say, I just don't want to, then why? What are you afraid of? Are you lacking courage? Because that's what it seems like to me. Being passive is a form of aggression. So if you're being passive aggressive, one could make an argument that that's actually worse than those speaking up. Sometimes you have to table a conversation and pick it back up another time. Sometimes you have to say no. I won't accept or disagree. What does that accomplish? It takes courage to be difficult, and it takes courage and thick skin to continue a relationship with a difficult person. Most are not willing to be difficult or deal with somebody difficult. You'd rather go along, get in line, do what you're told. Don't say this, but say that. Put this in your body. Another story right in my backyard. Wisconsin liberals on Thursday filed a federal lawsuit alleging Republican Senator Ron Johnson and 2 other GOP congressmen are insurrectionists in violation of the U.S. Constitution for their works and actions in support of Donald Trump leading up to the riot at the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. The lawsuit alleging a violation of disqualification clause of the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, says Johnson and U.S. Reps Tom Tiffany, Scott Fitzgerald conspired to undermine President Joe Biden's victory and sow public distrust of the outcome. I'll just say, if we really wanted to be a democracy, and you have over 100 people in Congress saying there was fraud, whether I believe it or not, it doesn't matter. It warrants a legit investigation. We should let them put all their facts on the table and plead their case. I think they did already, though. I think this did go to court, but something tells me that it was all shit and they didn't really actually dig deep into this. I personally am not giving in to the fact that there was fraud at the election booth and ballots were removed or things like that. I do think there's something really messed up with the Democratic establishment, though. it really jumped out to me in 2016 when they burned Bernie Sanders for Hillary Clinton, and then again when they picked Joe Biden, when they actually had a couple decent candidates like Tulsi Gabbard running as Democrats. So I don't know. We should let them put all their facts on the table and plead their case. That's just how I feel. Either way, I'm not a fan of Democrats always suing their opposition. Every time they don't like something, and I believe this is the second or even third story already this year of a Democrat suing a Republican. And I think, honestly, this is because of the midterms coming up. I think they're afraid that they can't win. I think they know that people don't want their message. And this is what I'm talking about with fascism, yo. This is what it looks like. They're oppressing people. They're literally trying to sue and remove these people from being able to take office again and run for re-election. Come on, man. Let's check out Bloomberg. The housing boom may be about to go bust. As we all know, millennials and Americans are the most economically cursed generation. Now that they're hitting their 30s and 40s, they're not even cool anymore, and I feel that. And the housing market might be about to stick it to us once again. As we recently wrote, or I should say as Bloomberg recently wrote, millennials are finally buying houses after years of being sidelined by issues such as the dot-com bust, September 11th, two long wars, the financial crisis and job losses, a pandemic. But what if it's actually just another trap for the broken generation? Americans think this is the worst time ever to buy a house, according to a recent poll. Gary Schilling has many charts out there and numbers validating this sentiment. You should go check them out. Interest rates are rising and housing affordability is approaching rock bottom. Well, I say shit, because I've been looking. One silver lining is that home buyers are starting to ramp up supply. Oops, damn. It turns out that silver lining is actually a sharpened katana sword, dropping on the neck of anybody trying to buy a house right now. Is that what that feeling is? With all this new supply hitting just as soaring costs crush demand? That's not to mention the rising odds of a Fed-induced recession, which would be the third one of those since the millennium began. It's crazy. If you listen to my show yesterday, I think that's what the Feds are doing right now. I think they are trying to push us into a recession. Oh, and if you buy a house in the burbs, don't forget you're going to need a car, unfortunately. Best of luck ever getting a bargain on one of those again. A gentleman named Connor Sen points out that even when the supply constraints that have boosted car prices ease, automakers will do everything they can to make the new higher prices stick to help cover the expenses of the switch to electric vehicles. And I don't even know how to wrap my head around that. I did look at a truck right before my dog got sick, and I had to drop $30,000 on him. And the truck was for $25,000 at that time, and I looked again a couple months ago and it was about like 36,000. So I mean, it's just nuts out there. Car prices are crazy. The cost of used vehicles are astronomical as well. You used to be able to get a cheap car for 2-3K, and now you probably have to spend 5-6K on a really cheap car. So look, man, I would love a Model S Tesla, but that's not happening. I'm starting to get sick of these corporations' bullshit excuses to raise prices and keep them up. And what about electric vehicles? They keep trying to force us into buying electric vehicles. And I don't know, it just makes me feel really uncomfortable. It almost feels like the whole gas and oil situation is somewhat orchestrated. I don't mean to, push out conspiracies. In fact, I don't really like conspiracies myself, but they are fun, I guess. So this is a very likely scenario. The Feds position themselves for recession. So we'll just have to see what happens. Based on what I told you yesterday, like I said, and I'm going to keep saying, go check out those previous episodes. We had some really good shows this week. And remember that concept of time I always talk about so often? Time will tell all. So we'll just have to see what happens here. Bloomberg then goes on to say, and I must admit, I only clicked on this article because I wanted the housing update. But I always read to the end because a lot of left-leaning publications and outlets will throw some bullshit in at the end of their article. And sure enough, at the end of this article, they bring up Spotify and Joe Rogan. Like, what the hell does that have to do with housing? So they go on to say, Spotify does not need this Joe Rogan headache. Let's get this out of the way right now up front. The First Amendment does not apply to private companies. The U.S. government may not be allowed to abridge free speech. But a private company can abridge to its heart's delight. We mention this because the time has come for the private company known as Spotify to finally cut Joe Rogan's losses. Rights Take Him. And I don't know who this Take Him is, but I'm guessing this guy's full of hate. I wonder if he's ever even watched the Joe Rogan show. I bet not. His vaccine misinformation was bad enough, even if Rogan and Spotify promised steps to minimize the danger of this nonsense in the future, Tay said. Well, I obviously wholeheartedly disagree and think that's bullshit. I even take it a step further and think Americans need to be protected by the First Amendment from their employers, or in other words, private companies should not be allowed to abridge free speech anymore. I think we've seen too many companies abuse that in the name of cancel culture or in the name of social justice in recent years. Is it really justice if all he did is say something? Are you not censoring when you do that? Are you not further pushing our country towards fascism? Like I said, it's not a right-wing thing. In fact, I'm willing to bet money that if our country goes into a dictatorship and continues to go down this path, it's going to come from the left, not the right. How can we possibly have free speech if it comes with such extreme consequences? I think it's time to get rid of those consequences. You know who never has to face consequences? The Bidens, Hunter Biden. The New York Post posted yesterday a comprehensive report about the ongoing federal probe into Hunter Biden's tax filings published by the New York Times on Wednesday night confirmed the existence of the first son's infamous laptop. In October 2020, the Post exclusively reported on the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop that he ditched it in a Delaware repair shop in April of 2019. The laptop's hard drive contained a trove of emails, text messages, photos, and financial documents between Hunter Biden, his family, and business associates detailing how the president's son used his political leverage in overseas business dealings. Some of the scrutinized correspondence was between Hunter Biden and Devon Archer, who had served with his first son on the board of Ukraine's energy company Burisma, the report said. Archer, who was sentenced last month in an unrelated fraud case, has cooperated completely with the feds in their probe into Hunter Biden, the Post has reported. I highly doubt that, by the way. The laptop was confirmation that it included in the Times report that also revealed how Hunter Biden paid off tax liability over $1 million a year after he announced he was under investigation from defrauding the IRS. So Hunter Biden has been under investigation for failing to pay taxes since his father was our vice president, dude. But this inquiry broadened into 2018 to look into how the international business dealings intersected with President Biden's political career. Well, there you have it. As if you didn't already know this to be true. I'm pretty sure this will disappear just like Anthony Fauci. Fauci the Grouch. All politicians, for the most part, are somewhat legally corrupt. And I say legal because they have literally implemented laws to make what we used to consider corruption legal. Go check out my lobbyist episode. So the Bidens are on another level, and the Democratic establishment let them in the Oval Office. However, this does implicate Joe Biden. He should be impeached now, and I'm being dead serious. Based on Democrats' own logic, he should be impeached. Based on the precedent they set with Trump, he should be impeached. I've often wondered if Biden's presidency was just one big cover-up. If you haven't already, you have plenty of time this weekend, I'm sure. Like most of you, I'm not going out and spending a lot of money anymore either. So go check out Ukraine's On Fire documentary. It's on Rumble. It's free, guys. YouTube took it off, and I think it's only like a half hour. It's worth your time. Timcast reported last night that Facebook and Twitter are already trying to hide this story. I'm on Rumble for reasons like this. So please subscribe to my Rumble channel, The Jay Rooney Show. There's lots of content there for you. Not just news, there's tons of subjects. And hey, real quick, remember when Jen Psaki said Hunter Biden's story is Russia disinfo? Dozens of former intel officers say, well, where are those officials now, Jen Psaki? You are such a liar. Liar. Per Yahoo News, supply chains just got tossed two curveballs. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg said, and acknowledges that an already fragile global supply chain have been dealt a twin blow from Western sanctions on Russia for its war in Ukraine, and now we have fresh lockdowns in China due to a renewed COVID-19 outbreak. Well, they are major curveballs for the economy and for the supply chain, Buttigieg told Yahoo Finance, and this is exactly why we've been so focused on making our supply chain more resilient. We don't know what the next shot is going to be. Another pandemic, a war, climate-related extreme weather event. which is happening more and more frequently and every passing year. But we shouldn't have to know what the threat is going to be nimble with our supply chains, to deal with any of these threats, to deal with the uncertainty. And you know what? On that score, the Biden administration revealed a program on Tuesday designed to improve battle supply chains by bolstering the data visibility amongst companies. I'm sorry, but a lot of this kind of just sounds like some BS to me. The initiative, led by Buttigieg and the National Economy Council Director Brian Dentz, is formally called Freight Logistics Optimization Works, or FLOW. The data sharing initiative focuses on ensuring companies have the insight into what and how cargo is being moved around the supply chain. And I'm not sure this is going to work, but honestly, you would think these companies would already have access to this data. What is the government doing with this data? Why don't they have this data? And I don't trust a guy who thinks we should all go trade in our cars right now for an electric vehicle. I think he's too disconnected. He doesn't know. I take this as another sign of inflation, the times to come. Lots of hoops going on, just like there's lots of basketball going on. Do me a favor, subscribe on Rumble. It's free. The world stays busy, and I know you're busy. So, don't eat too much this weekend. Go for a few walks, work out, get some rest. Your health is your responsibility. Marcus says, for a rational being, acting in accordance with nature is also to act in accordance with reason. Jay Rooney Show.